Day 9. On day 9, you are making your way to Kangaroo Island. On the way to Kangaroo Island, I did manage to convince the family to go to a little vineyard in Langhorne Creek, which is very much an up-and-coming region in South Australia. But effectively, the idea of this day was let's get onto the ferry and let's go to Kangaroo Island. Now, you do have to book this in advance, and you do have to specify that you are taking a camper van with you, which was absolutely fine because the boat was humongous, and the ferry is organized by a company called Scenic. Now, the thing that I didn't realize about Kangaroo Island is that there is a lot of driving in between the various places of Kangaroo Island, which over time can become a little bit tiring. But on that first day, once we settled into the caravan site, we ended up getting some lunch at the Kangaroo Island Brewery. It was one of the coolest spots that we went to on Kangaroo Island in my experience. Furthermore, the owners were super friendly, and I had a great chat with them about Kangaroo Island in general. Day 10. Now, day 10 in the morning was one of the highlights for both my partner and my daughter, which was effectively swimming with dolphins. And that was an amazing experience if you're someone who's into wildlife and nature like we are. And how it works is that you drive to the pickup spot, you get into a boat, and then they take you to a dolphin colony, or a resting spot as they called it. And the thing that I really liked about that, and my partner really liked about that, is effectively these dolphins are wild. And the tour company doesn't feed them in any way. You just visit their home. And dolphins are super friendly, and they're super playful. And so you jump out of your boat, and the dolphins will come up to you and interact with you. And so that was a really great experience, although you do have to know how to swim if you want to take part in that. After that experience, we went to the Bay of Shoals vineyard just for some lunch. And I have to say the views were absolutely tremendous. I think Kangaroo Island is known to be a place where it's a little bit underdeveloped. Both the caravan park that we stayed in didn't really have much for kids. And dare I say this, some of the wines that I tried on Kangaroo Island probably weren't the best. Some of the staff in some of the vineyards weren't actually that friendly and accommodating. So maybe we just had the odd person who was having a bad day. I wouldn't really go to Kangaroo Island if you want to try some amazing wines. Later in the afternoon though, we went to this really brilliant gin tasting place. And the coolest thing about it is that they had a garden with all the botanicals that they use to put into their gins. And so we had the experience of tasting things that we had never tried before, like saltbush or special types of basil. And this was something that even the kids could take part in. Now, we were there on a Thursday, and apparently every Thursday evening there's a special Thai restaurant that opens only once a week. And again, you have to drive to it, and looks are pretty deceiving because the food was actually pretty good and they had some live music playing, and overall the atmosphere was pretty fun. Day 11. In the morning, we get to the sand dunes where you can actually sandboard, and that was a brilliant experience, and our family really loved that. Sandboarding down a sand dune is very hard. Even if you're someone who, like me, surfs and skateboards a bit, I did not feel safe or comfortable on that board, and so we often opted to just slide on our bums, which was also really fun, and the views were stunning there. As I mentioned, one of the coolest things about being in a camper van is that you can have lunch wherever you want, and so Kangaroo Island was no exception to that. We drove up to an amazing lookout spot where there was a barbecue there, and we fried up some bacon and had some beautiful bacon sandwiches. The afternoon was at Seal Bay, and I would highly recommend doing that. Again, you are visiting animals in their natural habitat. And so rather than interfering with those animals and trying to feed them and pet them, you effectively just observe them. And that was really, really special. We were lucky, and there were probably over 80 seals on that beach. And the tour was very informative as well. I would highly recommend doing that. And finally, for dinner, you can see that the camper van had effectively a little grill. So we had some beautiful steaks with some lovely wine from the Wins Coonawarra estate that we already talked about. God, it was just stunning. And that was our dinner for our last day on Kangaroo Island. Day 12. At this point, we are leaving Kangaroo Island. I booked the ferry for about 12 o'clock, and so I managed to do the parkrun in the morning, which was pretty funny because there were only, I think, 5 or 6 of us. But the parkrun was really beautiful because you were running along the coast. And I did get a little surprise when I was walking back from parkrun to the caravan park. And initially, as I was walking, I could see a shape far in the distance, and I'm from Canada originally, and my instinct told me, gosh, this looks like a tiny little bear. I wonder what that is. And as I came closer and closer, I could see that it was effectively a marsupial, even though its name does have bear in it. It was a koala bear, and it slowly walked up that tree and just stared at me. And so that was actually the first time that I had seen a koala so close, completely in the wild. And so overall, even though Kangaroo Island was a little bit slow and underdeveloped, the encounters with nature that we had were amazing. For brunch, we went to a brilliant little brunch place called Cactus, which was probably my favorite meal on on Kangaroo Island, and I would highly recommend it, and it is within the township of Kingscote. We did also stop by at False Cape Wines because I got my times mixed up a little bit. I thought our ferry was leaving at 12, but it was actually leaving at 1:30.